The story begins on November 7th, 2018, at 4 p.m. in the quiet town of Paradise, California. A school bus driver named Kevin was dropping children off at their homes after school. After dropping off all the kids, Kevin parked the bus at the bus depot. His boss, Ruby, informed him that his bus was still due for maintenance. Kevin asked Ruby about extra shifts. He needed the extra money to cover his expenses, but Ruby said there was nothing available at the moment. Just then, Kevin received a devastating call from the doctor, saying his beloved dog's cancer had spread. It was time to say goodbye. At home, Kevin's mom was there. His son Sean had come home from school because he was sick. Kevin, who had dropped out of school to become a father, tried to tell Sean that school was important, wanting his son to have a better life than he did. Instead of listening, Sean turned up his music to full volume. Kevin got angry and said, "Wait till you have to pay bills." The two of them got into a heated argument, and in his anger, Sean snapped, "I wish you were dead." The words hit Kevin hard. Later, Kevin took his dog to the vet for his final moments, a heartbreaking goodbye to a friend he had owned since he was a puppy. Meanwhile, miles away, the strong, dry winds caused an electricity cable on the top of a hill to snap, and a fire broke out. A red flag wildfire warning was already in effect for Paradise, but no one could have imagined how quickly this fire would grow. The next morning, Ruby told Kevin that the mechanic would service his bus that day, so he needed to be on time. Kevin took the bus and headed out for his morning route. Meanwhile, the wildfire was growing. A truck passing by reported it, and 2 fire brigade trucks were dispatched. But the firefighters realized the fire had been caused by an electric cable high up on a ridge, and reaching it wasn't going to be easy. As Kevin was picking up children, his mom started calling him repeatedly. When he finally picked up, his mom told him Sean's condition had gotten worse. But just then, Kevin received a command from his base. Once the drop-off was complete, bring the bus back for maintenance immediately. Kevin told his mom to check Sean's temperature and promised to pick up medicine for him on his way home. On the other side of the mountains, the firefighters still couldn't reach the fire. All this information was reported to Cal Fire Division Chief Ray Martinez. At this point, Paradise was still far from the fire, so they didn't think there would be any immediate danger there. Just then, Chief Ray was informed about another fire, this one on Rim Road, north of a town called Concow. This was miles away from the original fire. Chief Ray got angry at the PG&E Power Company, shouting, "We gave you a red flag warning last night and told you to shut down the power lines." Then, an engineer named Hopkins radioed Chief Ray. He was in Concow, and a very serious situation was developing. Hopkins suddenly spotted spot fires erupting all around him, spreading incredibly fast. Visibility was disappearing in the thick smoke. Chief Ray analyzed the situation and realized with horror, this is all one fire. A single fire was spreading at a terrifying rate. He immediately dispatched all his resources to Concow. Ruby informed all her drivers about the fire, telling them to keep listening to the radio. She told Kevin to get to the base quickly, or he'd miss his afternoon route, but Kevin still needed to stop and pick up medicine for his son. In Concow, Engineer Hopkins began helping evacuate people who didn't have vehicles, loading them into his truck. On the other side of town, Kevin got a call from his ex-wife, Linda. She told him Sean was texting her, asking her to come get him. Kevin, frustrated, said, "That's not necessary. He's sick and I've already picked up his medicine." Linda replied, "I'm at work too, and Pete and I are supposed to be going to Colorado tonight." Kevin was hurt hearing this, but he cut the call and reported the smoke he was seeing to his base. Ruby, annoyed, told him, "Forget the smoke. Just get the bus here fast, or you'll need to find another job." The situation in Concow was now a full-blown disaster. Air tankers were deployed to fight the fire, but due to the strong winds, they couldn't hit their targets. Chief Ray told Hopkins to head to a bridge and take shelter in the water below. Hopkins stopped his vehicle and told everyone to get into the river. They waded into the cold water just as the fire reached them, a wall of flame roaring over their heads. For a tense few moments, everyone thought they hadn't survived, but then a response came through. They had survived, but everyone was seriously injured. Hopkins reported that the fire was now advancing rapidly toward Paradise. Back in Paradise, Kevin also noticed fire brigade trucks racing by. He left a voicemail for his son saying, "Sorry about last night. I picked up your medicine. I'll be home right after work." He told him about the fire in Concow and said, "There's nothing to worry about." Chief Ray issued evacuations for several zones in East Paradise, but when they tried to send out the evacuation warning at Town Hall, it failed due to a signal error. The scene shifts to an elementary school. The staff didn't want to wait any longer for an official evacuation order. They started calling the children's parents. but some of the kids had parents who worked out of town. There were 23 children left who needed a bus to get them out. The school principal called Ruby. Ruby asked all her drivers if anyone was nearby. No one was on that route except Kevin, who was on his way home to his sick son. Kevin now faced two choices: either go to his son or pick up these children. Kevin found himself saying, no, but then told Ruby, I can get them. Ruby said, okay, just get those kids out. Kevin arrived at the elementary school. He wanted the children to board the bus quickly, but the teacher, Mary, had to get them on board calmly. These were small children, and she couldn't panic in front of them. Kevin, frustrated by the delay, said, hurry up. Understand the urgency of the situation. They finally got the children onto the bus. Kevin told Mary she'd have to come along too. Mary informed the principal and left with Kevin. At that moment, at least 15 miles of traffic was trying to get out of Paradise. Chief Ray gave the order to evacuate the entire town. But on the other side, all communication between Ruby and Kevin was lost. His cell phone wasn't working either. His was the only bus left in East Paradise. Because they had left the school late, they were now stuck in heavy traffic. Kevin decided to change his route. Mary said they needed to stick to the plan, but Kevin replied, I'll just be stuck in traffic here, as the fire was rapidly advancing toward them. The children started crying, frightened by Kevin's aggressive driving. But Kevin's only concern was somehow getting these children to their parents. Back at the base, Ruby received instructions to evacuate. Even as she was leaving, she kept trying to contact Kevin, but it was no use. On the bus, Kevin and Mary learned a little about each other. Mary had a 15-year-old son she was supposed to pick up. Now her sister would have to get him. As they drove, the situation in the area was getting worse by the minute. Even the hospital had caught fire. Kevin's bus got stuck at a roadblock. Mary asked, your family will get the evacuation alerts, right? But Kevin hadn't signed them up for alerts, meaning they wouldn't receive any. And Kevin's mom didn't know how to drive. Just then, a nearby house caught fire. Kevin told Mary to sit in the driver's seat. Mary didn't know how to drive, but now she'd have to. Kevin got out and went to talk to the traffic officer, but the officer was stuck himself. So Kevin started clearing the traffic himself, moving cars to the side so they could get through. Mary brought the bus forward, and Kevin got back in the driver's seat. They were just 1 minute away from their drop-off point. But the elementary school where they were supposed to go had completely burned down. There was no one there. Mary said, we'll have to take these kids to Chico. Just then, a girl got scared and lay down on the floor. Mary comforted her as Kevin drove the bus out of there. Meanwhile, Chief Ray found out about Kevin's lost bus with 22 children on board. Kevin and Mary had 2 routes left to escape. One route was extremely narrow and filled with sharp turns. The bus wouldn't make it through there. They'd have to take the other route. On the route they were taking, power lines started snapping and falling. Kevin drove carefully, crashing through fences as he pushed forward. But ahead, the road was completely blocked. They'd have to try going through that narrow road after all. On the road, they saw horrifying sights. People were on fire and looters even attacked their bus. Kevin managed to stop a man with a gun from getting inside and turned the bus around. On the bus, the children were thirsty and hot. Smoke started coming in through the AC vents, so they had to turn it off. An elderly woman on the bus was starting to suffer from heat stroke. She needed water or she'd have a stroke. Mary said, you stay here. I'll go outside. Mary, an asthma patient herself, went out into the thick smoke looking for water. She bravely found water bottles in a nearby abandoned van. Just as things started to explode from the fire, Mary somehow made it back to the bus. Kevin drove out, but there was nothing but fire all around them. He couldn't find any way out. The children were screaming. Through the smoke, they somehow found a way forward and ended up on that narrow, winding road. Just then, people started coming from the opposite direction, telling them to turn back because there was fire ahead. Kevin stopped them saying, don't go back. There's fire behind too. But the people said, we have to take our chances. Now Kevin couldn't go forward or backward. He got off the bus and went to a ridge to look at the fire. There was fire all around him. Kevin came back and said, we can't go anywhere. We have to stay here. Mary asked, so what? We just stay here and wait? Kevin answered, this is the only place where there's no fire. They were out of options. Kevin tore his shirt into small pieces, wet them with water, and created makeshift filters for the children. He taped over the AC vents so no more smoke could get inside. Inside the bus, everyone's condition was deteriorating. Kevin tried to keep the children distracted with conversation. Mary told Kevin, if I get out of here, I'm going to take trips. I'll take my son to Legoland. Kevin then shared his own story. He said, I spent my whole life trying to stay away from paradise, and now all I want to do is make a go of it here. He explained that he had gotten into a terrible fight with his own father years ago. He had screamed at him, "I wish you were dead," the same words his son had said to him. A few months ago, he got a call that his dad was very sick. Kevin drove all night but was late. He said, "I was late as a son, and now I was late as a father." Kevin started crying as he told this story. But just then, a fire broke out right next to them. Kevin tried to put it out with the fire extinguisher, but it ran out. He tried to put out the fire with his clothes, but the situation was out of control. Kevin went back to his bus, but now the bus wouldn't start. He put Mary in his seat and opened the hood. He removed the clogged air filter, and the bus started. Kevin now had to drive the bus through the fire, weaving between fallen trees that were already burning. Fire was everywhere, with their bus in the middle. The children were screaming. Kevin drove through the intense fire with a burned hand. In the end, all his effort and courage paid off. They made it out of the fire. Kevin brought the bus to the Chico depot. Parents were reunited with their children. Mary thanked Kevin, and the two of them hugged. Everyone applauded for them. Mary was also reunited with her family. Kevin told Ruby, "Time for maintenance." But Kevin still had to find his own family. He didn't find their names at the lost and found. He started looking around and finally found his mom. Their neighbor had brought them. But Sean was not with her. Sean was with his mom, Linda. Kevin's mom said, "It's for the best." After the fire ended, Kevin went to his house. It had completely burned down. Kevin found a burned photo of himself and Sean there. Just then, Sean came up from behind. He had chosen to come back. The two of them hugged, their past arguments forgotten. His mom was watching them. And with that, friends, our story comes to an end.